you guys? Welcome back. I'm Ashley, and this is my channel. I am a mom, a soap maker, entrepreneur, and now an entrepreneur in my counseling business. So, I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about the maker to therapist business journey that I've taken and do a little bit of a long form video for you guys. Sitting down, talking in my office. Um, so I got started in September. For those of you who do not know, welcome. Um, I got started in September of 2022. So almost 4 years ago at my first vendor market. I was already practicing as a therapist, then unlicensed in my residency. And I decided that I wanted to start a self-care business. I have different blogs on my website that talks about my first year in business, my second year in business, and I've taken you guys along on the journey with me ever since 2022. I think of my soap business starting it up. Um, I have some photos on my website underneath the blogs section that kind of shows my first vendor event setup, which was horrible, but it was mine. And now, fast forward 4 years from making $100 at a vendor market to now making $800 a day at a vendor market. We're also going to talk about my life as a mom, my life as a therapist, and how I transitioned and made this like all things mental health by Ashley brand, the soap business, the counseling business, all underneath one LLC. So this is the type of content that you guys think you may like. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe, and come chat with me. So vendor events. How did I go from making $100 to $800 a day? God, nothing but God and determination. I'm gonna try to stay on topic and try to keep this video very to the point. My setup. I have numerous videos. Go check them out on my YouTube channel about setup. The setup is important. I've used elevation, height, dimensions, all types of things in my setup. I made sure that my branding is very much at the front. I made sure that my best-selling products are at the front of my vendor booth. And I use I think it's 6 foot tables. I have vendor cloth. I have weights, I have tents, all the things. But elevation has come a long way for me from 2022 to now. A lot of people compliment me on my vendor setup. They love the setup. It's very minimalistic. It's very wooden, black, tan type of vibe, which is the vibe of my brand. Shifting vendor events. My first vendor event was a $25 vendor fee. For those of you who don't know, when you do markets, events, festivals, you name it, expos, you have to pay to be a vendor to be there to set up. I remember my first vendor event was in 2022 in September. It was in my hometown. And I remember I paid $25 for that vendor fee. And I was just so excited to sell my products. And I made $100. I thought I was rich. I then progressed throughout these 4 years to spending up to $350, up to $650 to do a vendor event. Lost my mind. I'm crazy for doing that, but sometimes you got to be crazy in your entrepreneurial journey to see what works and what doesn't work. I have, spent that range of money to really realize that it doesn't really matter the vendor fee amount. I've done some vendor events that I've paid $50 and I've made $800 at. So just because a vendor fee is high doesn't mean that the amount that you're going to make at that vendor event is also going to be high. So where I see myself going in my business, obviously small, rural Virginia vendor event, to now being more specific in what events I do. I've tried the wine festival route. I've tried the big, huge routes. I've tried the July routes, the August routes. I've tried it all over these 4 years to finally have it down to what events I'm going to do. And honestly, there is no right or wrong. You have to try them out to see. And I've put together a list of vendor events that I'm going to do. See what works, what doesn't work. I keep tallies of what I make at each event to see if I will go back next year, so forth and on. I've also done a lot of connections and making vendor event friends. I've made a lot of vendor event friends, and we all collaborate, work together, pick each other's brains. They may do an event that I don't do, and they'll give me feedback, so forth and on. I'll do the same for vendor events that I do and give them feedback, all the works. That has been a huge networking, like, game changer for my business. Now we're going to move to the section on the day in the life of momager and therapist. I am a mother of a wonderful toddler, and it's a lot. It is a lot being a mom, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Being that momager, I'm hoping will instill in my daughter that entrepreneur spirit, that you can start from working for somebody and then build up your business to where you are now working for yourself, which is where I'm blessed to be at right now. Also shifting my space, preparing my mind, and honestly doing things that I didn't really think I wanted to do. I never wanted to be I never wanted to have my own counseling business. That was something I never wanted to do. I actually said I didn't want to do that. I actually said I did not want to work with youth. I did not want to counsel youth. And that's exactly what I built my small business around, is on the counseling side. So I have All Things Mental Health by Ashley is the overarching the LLC. And then I have All Things Mental Health by Ashley Soap and All Things Mental Health by Ashley Counseling Services. And the brand is me. And I'm able to create my own schedule, do my own thing, be an independent contractor for government agencies or whoever I choose to, associate my brand with. On the soap end, I'm able to decide what I want to do. If I want to hire somebody part-time to help me double or triple team different events. For those of you who are vendors, you know that there are popular times of the year versus not. For me, it is May is heavy. Specifically, the first weekend in May, the first weekend in June are heavy event weekends. You have 2 or 3 mega events on the same weekend. So I'm preparing my mind, my budget, and my business to add on a part-time person to help me kind of grow this business on the soap side, since the counseling side is already booming. Grow it on the soap side and tag team in different events. I'm trying to follow this guide so I don't get lost in talking. Why I transitioned from selling just soap or my self-care business to counseling, it honestly was God. God led me to counseling. I remember, for those of you who don't know, I'm very spiritual, Christian, all of the things. And for those of you who don't know, really, really quickly, my journey started out, I was a nurse, and I technically am still a nurse. I have my nursing license. And that's what I wanted to do when I graduated school. And I remember my first job as a nurse was in a nursing home near the community college that I graduated from. And I remember I'm passing out meds, I'm doing insulin, I'm doing all the nursing things. And I had a patient die on a day that I wasn't there. This is a patient that I cared for um, over the months that I worked at that long-term care. And I would give her insulin, I would give her meds, all the things. And one day I come back from not working because I was part-time. I was still going to school. I had wanted to be pre-med, um, even potentially be like a nurse practitioner in psychiatry, something like that. And I wanted to continue my education. So I was working part-time and I was going to school part-time. And I remember I came back and they were like, Miss So-and-so died. And I remember I was thinking, I don't really know too much about her. I know her meds down. I know, how much insulin I gave her. I know everything about her medications. I know everything about the medication she was on, so forth and all, but I had no idea who she was. And I was like, I don't think I like this path. I really want a path where I can sit down, get to talk to people, get to know them, and really be impactful in their life. And so at that moment, I decided to go get my undergrad in psychology, did that, and then ended up being, on the counseling track. And then after 4 years of residency, getting my professional license in counseling. Um, and it was just the need of really wanting to know people. And I say all this to say, when I'm doing these vendor events, people see the brand and they think, okay, All Things Mental Health by Ashley. She is an organization that's probably going to hand out pamphlets on mental health. And then they really come and that intrigues them to come in. And then they're like, oh, your brand makes sense. Self care, all the things. And they end up in the middle of a festival telling me about their mental health problems. And people feel comfort. I've had people cry at my vendor booth. I've had people tell me their testimony at their vendor booth. And, all of those things just solidify that this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to do both of these brands. And so it's not necessarily a transition from soap to counseling because I was doing counseling way before soap. It was just about finding two things that I love that I could put together in a brand and make them this brand of All Things Mental Health by Ashley, self-care and counseling. And I could just continue to grow the self-care business. My counseling business has bloomed. And I'm just very, very grateful to be able to, add my self-care stuff into my counseling brand, even just educating clients on the importance of taking care of themselves and aromatherapy and all of those things. But then also, coordinating with some people and recommending different counseling services for people who come to my booth and are just really much in distraught and, need to be referred somewhere. But I love what I do. This is the reintroduction to me, and this is how I took my journey from maker to therapist, and over the last 4 years. So stay tuned. Put in the comments any other topics or questions you have. I would love to do a Q&A video once I get enough questions asked of me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this short form, long form type of YouTube video. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.